Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of ShedTalk, the show that's done within a shed. I'm your host, Mr. Meatball YT, also known as Meatball or just Ivan. That's my real name. Today's topic, actually I don't really know. We're just doing the very first kind of proof of concept episode here. Basically, what I want to do with this series is I just want to kind of talk about current events, things that are on my mind, stuff like that. Right now, the only big thing happening as of today, it's a nice cold, I want to say Saturday, what is it, like May 31st?
I believe it's currently, now it's June 1st.
June 1st, Saturday, June 1st. It's a nice chilly day. We're inside my shed. It's like 50 degrees outside. It's really, really kind of quite nice.
It is currently 10 until 3 in the morning.
It's 10 till 3 in the morning. My very first episode, I have my good buddy Lem, also,
A.K.A. Tucker,
sitting here.
Hey fuckers, how you doing?
Just out of frame because he helped me set up this camera that I'm using, which is just my phone on a tripod.
This is a pilot, so don't expect anything of quality.
Yeah. Basically, the way that this is going to work from now on is I want people to kind of give me ideas of what to talk about. Other than that, I'm just going to kind of rattle off about current things that have been happening in my life and happening around. So recently, starting with my personal life, I actually run a business out of this shed. Right now I'm tearing down a PlayStation 5 for a customer.
That may or may not have been bricked to begin with.
Yeah, it's probably a lost cause, to be honest with you. And that's kind of what I do for extra money. I have a day job and then I do that. Second off, I recently was diagnosed with diabetes, which kind of sucks.
Type 2.
Yeah, type 2 diabetes, which really sucks ass. Didn't know I had it. Probably had it for a long time without knowing. So that's pretty...
Maybe even for years.
Yeah, maybe even for years. So that sucks pretty bad.
Luckily, sorry to interrupt you, Ivan, but
yeah,
luckily he's at the point where he doesn't need to take insulin injections because from my understanding, that's pretty late stage.
Yeah, you'd have to be pretty fucked up.
Yeah, but you do have show them the glucose monitor on your arm.
I have a monitor that I scan with my phone, so I know what my blood sugar is at all times.
Thank God for Ozempic if you can fucking get it.
Yeah, well, I don't know if I'm going to be able to get it yet, but I mean, I have diabetes, so probably, maybe, I don't know. I haven't even gone to a doctor yet, but all I know is that I am currently aware that that's what I have, and I'm treating it, and...
Speaking of, sorry to cut you off. Speaking of Ozempic, just in general, earlier tonight we watched the recent South Park special involving Cartman trying to become thin.
Yeah, the end of obesity special is what it was called.
That I couldn't remember the fucking title, so
it was a pretty fun special. It kind of became like a Mad Max thing at the end of it because they were like everyone in the
mild spoiler warning for the climax.
Yeah, everyone was like trying to hunt down a truck full of Ozempic because Ozempic's this like miracle drug that everyone's wanting. It's really high in demand.
Randy Marsh's subplot about drugs.
About drugs, yeah. But basically, yeah. So we watched that today, and also recently in the news, Donald Trump was convicted of 34 counts of what was it, like fraud? It was like falsifying records or something.
I think it had to do with the hush money he paid porn actress Stormy Daniels.
I thought this was about
Or I think that was part of it, at the very least. Or maybe that's the next trial he's going through, but...
I don't know. Either way, he got convicted of an actual crime. So that's interesting, to say the least.
Needless to say, a lot of his supporters are obviously not very happy about this. But you know what? Who cares? A lot of them are chuds anyway.
Yeah, a lot of...
Hot take, but...
a lot of Trump supporters, I feel like, are kind of at the end of their rope. There's really not much kind of left for them at this point.
I would like to say that obviously not all people who support him are bad people, but a good chunk of them are pretty deep down the fucking like right-wing rabbit hole. And I know for a fact that as soon as word breaks out, possibly within the next 24 hours, most conservatives online are going to be like, well, what about Joe Biden? What about Joe Biden? And honestly, as a leftist, you know what? Fine. You know what? Let's try. We can do Genocide Joe next.
Speaking of, that's actually the next thing I wanted to talk about was...
Nice segue.
Yeah, the next thing I wanted to talk about was the Israel-Palestine war happening right now, the bombings in Gaza. That's been happening since October 7th. Apparently, there's been a lot of signaling from Joe Biden to try and start an actual ceasefire, and apparently Israel's been kind of secretly, kind of dealing with the U.S. and saying, they've been outwardly saying that they want to keep the war going, but they've been kind of in secret, in kind of back rooms, being like, yeah, we probably want to stop this because we're getting a lot of countries angry at us. So,
including
Egypt, which they, I think they violated like some 1970s treaty about like the Philadelphia corridor because they sent troops there, and that's a demilitarized zone. So that's
what we call a war crime.
And I guess I heard a rumor that they killed an Egyptian soldier on accident or something. I don't know, but regardless, I'm hoping that this is kind of winding down because. This has been kind of like one of the more divisive things that's been in the news lately. Mostly because, like, at first it was like there was a lot of people that I knew personally who were very, very pro-Israel for some reason, and they were very much against the Palestinians. They thought that, like, all the bombings and stuff were justified. Which, I mean, right after October, there was probably some justifiable military action, because they were. Hamas started the first attack. They flew in like hang gliders and they attacked a few Israeli places, but...
Now that the Israelis are actually actively committing genocide against Palestinian civilians...
At this point, they're just displacing like millions of people. Like, Israel won the war already.
We have photographic proof of Palestinians in concentration camps.
Yeah, like there's Palestinian prisoners in like concentration camps in Israel. There's... just a whole lot of bad shit going on. A lot of innocent civilians being killed by like JDAM bombs and missiles and tanks
and white phosphorus.
It's been a non-stop onslaught of just fucking horrible shit that I've been seeing online, on Twitter, on YouTube, all over the place, of just people being dismembered, blown up, fucking. There was a thing recently where Israel bombed Rafah, one of the Rafah refugee camps, and they were just like there was just Palestinians carrying these like dismembered children because it was a camp for people that were displaced. They bombed it, they firebombed it. It's unthinkable. I don't think Israel's going to recover from this for a very long time. I think that's going to be pretty fresh on everyone's minds, and I think. A lot of Americans are not going to forget the fact that most of the American Senate and House and people in charge have essentially been backing Israel just completely throughout all of this, up until recently where the protests started happening on campuses, and there was like several countries in NATO that started going against Israel, like France and Spain and I think Norway, and some non-NATO states like Ireland especially. Just a lot of the world has been very pissed off at Israel because they just keep crossing the line.
To make a long story short, this war is a PR nightmare for Israel, for the Israeli government at the very least.
Yeah, it's a PR nightmare for the Israeli government, and it's a PR nightmare for Joe Biden. And this kind of is like Joe Biden's Vietnam in a way, even though We've sent no soldiers over. We have nobody there, no boots on the ground at all.
And I highly doubt it will get to that point.
But we've been sending Israel bombs. Like, why are we helping them bomb people? It makes no sense.
We're helping them commit war crimes.
Yeah, we're helping them invade a whole separate place that, I guess, was governed by a terror group, but they already fought and won against the terror group. It's just people they're bombing at this point. Just normal
Now it's
people.
just like a revenge quest.
Yeah, it's really fucked up.
Going back to the Vietnam comparison,
Mm-hmm.
and speaking of the protests that are happening on campuses across the U.S.,
Mm-hmm.
yeah, you know, because the massive like police crackdown on people peacefully protesting genocide.
Yeah, I think the weird like bloodlust that a lot of people have had in our government against the student protesters it was really fucking weird, wasn't it? Like that's more like blood hungry than usual that we've seen from like a lot of like people in government, because there was like the Speaker of the House like showing up to one of these campuses to just be like, police fucking kill them all, you know, just like we didn't even see any of that during like the 2020 protests or anything like that. There was nothing like that.
Yeah.
But as soon as they, you know, try to get colleges to divest from Israel, and you know, I guess that's where a lot of House and Senate members' money comes from, is from AIPAC, which is the American Israel Political Action Committee. You know, the Israel lobby, the pro-Israel lobby, pays a lot of politicians, so a lot of them have a vested interest in stopping these protests, and that's why they were so vehemently against the student protesters. And they tried to like get the police to just straight up kill them in some cases, but the students just held on. And
it's almost like another Kent State style incident would have been a disaster.
Yeah.
Not just because people would have died, but like that just would have pissed people off even more.
Yeah, if it had escalated past that, it would have been fucking nightmarish for the U.S. government. I think Biden's kind of getting the hint, despite him being like one of the biggest recipients of AIPAC money. Yeah, and that's not to say, you know, just a little disclaimer here while we're talking about Israel. I'm not an anti-Semite. I am a like democratic socialist. I'm a leftist. I have never been, you know, against Jewish people. The state of Israel and their actions, I think, are despicable.
I concur.
It's a settler colonial state. It's built on the backs of the blood of thousands of Arabs. I think Arabs have kind of gotten the short end of the stick in the past, like 50 years?
At least. I think it was longer than that, because wasn't Israel, as we know it, formed shortly after the Second World War?
Yeah, it was like 1948 or something, and then in 1949 there was the Nakba, which was a mass displacement, mass killing of Palestinians. And
it was basically a genocide.
Yeah.
Of like the people who had lived there before, you know.
Yeah. It's pretty fucked up. It's some fucked up shit. Yeah, so that's kind of our general opinions on the whole Israel-Palestine thing. I'm hoping it can finally fucking end. I'm personally a little bit sick of it. I'm a little weary of hearing constantly in the news about how Israel bombed like 1 million children in some tent camp somewhere that they totally didn't have to do, or how they killed like aid workers or whatever. I don't think Israel is going to recover from this PR-wise. I think the government of Benjamin Netanyahu is going to be, well, it's going to fall apart probably. At least I would hope.
Speaking of which, isn't Netanyahu like possibly facing like federal, or not federal charges, but like...
Yeah, the International Criminal Court condemned him a few days ago, and they put out a warrant for his arrest.
There's a good chance he could be like thrown in prison.
Yeah, and like going back to kind of the Vietnam comparison, I feel like America has gone to war with countries for less. You know, like we've invaded countries to get rid of war criminals and people that were condemned by the ICC and all that stuff, and by the UN for way less. Like this, it feels ridiculous that we're letting this go on. I'm frankly glad that something's being done, but it wasn't enough from the start. I don't think it was.
And to this day, we still don't know why exactly we went to war with Vietnam. Something to stop the spread of communism.
The general theory on that was containment. It was a containment theory because they believed in the domino theory, where like if one country turned communist, another would, then another would, then another would. But I feel like that was all kind of just made up bullshit because the CIA and the U.S. government, they wanted to go to war in Vietnam since like the 50s. And
when they got their wish, they realized, wait, we fucked up.
Well, they kind of mismanaged it, because
Yeah.
they dumped like poisonous chemicals all over Vietnam. They installed like a really incompetent leader of Vietnam as like a capitalist guy. And instead of him being like a democratic dude, he was just a straight up dictator. And he got ousted I think there was like 2 ousters of their government. I don't know. It was really unstable. There was just no fucking way that they were going to win that. Meanwhile, the actual like leader of Vietnam was like a beloved like leader of the people. He was an activist. He was a pro-U.S. activist during World War II who lobbied America to help fight Japan before we joined the war. And because French Indochina was occupied by Japan, and he thought it was a good way to get independence. And it's just the morale was not there, the governing was not there, and generally speaking, we just kind of went there to give money to Dow Chemical. we just kind of let like manufacturers and like weapons manufacturers and stuff just run wild there, and it became a fucking mess and a nightmare.
Yeah, let's go kill them commies. They fight the commies. They lose against the commies.
I mean,
it's like, we never should have been there.
Yeah.
I mean, I agree, we never should have been there, but the fact that, like, our guys ended up losing to, like, basically rebel bands of, like, farmers with guns, it's laughable, really.
I mean, the same thing kind of happens with all these wars, because, these wars start... we kind of just like give like a free check for all these like defense contractors and chemical companies, weapons manufacturers. They just come in and bulldoze these countries, but then the government doesn't want to commit enough to actually bulldozing the countries, so they send in like a sparse force, or they send in like a bunch of people. Either way, they're not going to get the job done, so they send a bunch of people. A bunch of them are going to die in warfare because it's a war. You're going to have conflict if you send more troops. People are going to die, the public's going to hate it, and they're going to want the soldiers to come back. That was Vietnam. Or it can be Iraq and Afghanistan, where they go in and they demolish this country, and then they pull back a bunch of troops, and they just have like a skeleton crew left. And they just keep removing troops more and more, and whenever they do a surge, it becomes really unpopular. And that kind of became the folly of like Afghanistan, where the whole thing fell apart because we had like 2,000 people left there defending one city. Like it was a mess. And it's because we kind of take a limp-wristed, kind of limp-dicked approach, because all these wars are just methods of extracting some kind of resource or just doing some kind of short-sighted political win. I don't think we ever actually go in there with the intention of winning the war. I think the last time we went into a war with the intention of winning it was Operation Desert Storm. And, that was a pretty tame war compared to a lot of the other ones.
It was barely even a war.
Yeah, we just kind of went in there, flattened them, then made them sign a treaty. And then we left. Yeah. Which, that's another thing. A lot of, America just doesn't know how to leave a war nowadays.
In the case of Afghanistan, imagine the Vietnam War. We go in there to, fight whoever's the bad guy this time. We basically lose, but instead of Vietnam, we kind of just stay there for, 2 decades.
Yeah. And that's another thing. We were in this war for fucking 20 years, and I think that's a big reason why we don't want to let anything escalate in Israel and Palestine, or even with Ukraine, which I think that the Ukrainian, this is just an aside, my personal opinion is I think the Ukrainians are completely justified in the war. I don't think, however, I don't think it's very cool of them to be posting videos of Russian conscripts being blown to pieces all over Twitter. That's kind of not nice to see. I kind of don't want to watch war crimes.
You would think that would be the one instance of graphic violence that Elon Musk would not be in favor of.
Yeah, but both sides do it. They both post fucking videos.
Well, yeah, it's fucking war. People are going to die.
But I'm just so sick of seeing drone footage of a Ukrainian drone like dropping a mortar on some fat Russian like 40-year-old man. He's just like crawling in a trench and like waving a flag or some shit, be like, I surrender. Then they just fucking
Gets
blow him
obliterated.
up. Yeah. Or even that, like I've seen other videos of like Russian soldiers like waving off the drone and being like, "Hey, fuck off! Let me like leave me alone." And then they get fucking destroyed, and it's kind of sad. It's like this new age of warfare using drones is kind of sickening a little bit, because these drones, they kill people, they kill tanks, they blow up buildings, and how can you really even defend against them? Like what? Maybe shoot them? Maybe use like a radar jammer thing or signal jammer? I don't know. Like
even
small
like
target.
Even like an EMP would be disastrous for like your side too.
Yeah.
Because that would like disable basically everything you have.
Yeah, that's actually another interesting thing about the Ukraine wars. I've been seeing a lot of images of the Russians using tanks that have like essentially a shed built around them, not too dissimilar from this shed that we're in. But imagine if instead of me being inside this shed, there was a full-on T90 MS or T90 tank just sitting in here with a shed on top of it.
That sounds like some like Looney Tunes by way of Mad Max shit.
Yeah, and I guess what it's supposed to do is it's supposed to like be an extra layer of protection from like drones that like suicide bomb into the
yes,
tanks.
Plywood, the best defense against explosives.
Yeah, which I guess it's not supposed to defend against explosives. It's just supposed to blow anything up outside of the hull of the tank.
Yeah.
So the tank doesn't get destroyed. But that's still bizarre. It's so bizarre to see. Like, these tanks have become, like, essentially just moving artillery shells or artillery guns, and they're just, like, sheds. They're moving sheds. They call them the turtle tanks. Very bizarre, very bizarre. Anyway, the reason why I'm rubbing my shoulder, by the way, another little personal detail, I wiped the absolute fuck out on my moped. I was riding my moped through my neighborhood, and I was trying to pick a flower for my girlfriend, and I stopped and braked and picked one off of a bush. And then I went forward a bit, and I hit the front brake too hard on gravel in this alley, and it kind of got squirrely, and I lost my footing, and I fell like 3 feet down onto a sewer grate, and yeah, it hurt. So my arm has been healing for the past week or so. I had to wear a sling for a little bit. It kind of sucked. My rotator cuff is kind of fucked, so I'm...
Once again, fate had thrown Ivan into the shitter.
Yeah, I can't really move my arm past this right now. I mean, I kind of can a little bit, but it hurts a lot. So that's kind of been what's going on with me.
Wouldn't it be nice if we had, like, I don't know, healthcare?
Yeah.
Or at the very least, healthcare we could afford.
Now, here's another topic I want to get into on ShedTalk. This is my recent movie watch. I watched Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes recently, and I think it's okay. I give it a sideways, upward-facing thumb.
Out of 10.
Out of 10. I thought it was an interesting premise. I just think it's a little weird to do like a Planet of the Apes movie without Caesar, but I kind of dig the aspect of it being in like the far future. Like after everything kind of fell apart, but I think it's weird how they kind of set up this whole like humans versus apes thing, where like the humans are still kind of like hiding in bunkers and stuff, and the apes are like trying to rebuild society, and they kind of like the leader of the apes is named Proximus. He's like a Romaboo who had a human read him Roman history.
Think Caesar from Fallout New Vegas, but if he was a monkey.
Yeah, pretty much. Well, isn't Caesar from Fallout New Vegas kind of a monkey anyway? Because he's got a big brain tumor that makes him think stupid. I mean, he's dumber than Snuffles the fucking mole rat.
That's true, by the way. If you go to the Fallout wiki and look up the intelligence stats of both characters...
Yeah, Caesar's dumber than Snuffles.
Wow, who would have thought the fascist Romaboo was a fucking idiot?
Yeah. He sure didn't get Hegelian dialectics right, that's for sure. But...
Plays Warhammer once.
Yeah. But yeah, I thought the movie was okay. It was a good little time waster. I don't know. The next movie I'm probably going to watch is Furiosa. The new Furiosa movie.
Aren't all movies time wasters in a way?
I mean, kinda, yeah.
I mean, there are good ones, there's bad ones. There are ones that are like, well, I think I have a new favorite. And then there are ones that are like, I should fucking kill myself.
Yeah. Yeah, Furiosa, I need to watch soon because I heard some pretty good things about it. But honestly, yeah, the Kingdom of the Planet of the Apes movie, it's okay. It's all right. It's better than the other shit they got on right now. Nothing good's gonna come out until like at least summer, because that's how movie schedules always work. They throw out the schlock in January, and then they throw it or in January up to like March.
The summer blockbuster has been like a staple of cinema since the dawn of cinema.
Yeah, but honestly, I think cinema is kind of dying because I heard that Furiosa, it didn't make back like hardly any of the money it needed to produce.
Really?
Yeah, it didn't really make back much of its money.
So it bombed?
Yeah. It bombed in the box office, even though it's like really highly reviewed because people just don't go out and watch movies anymore.
Well, I know during the pandemic, you couldn't do that.
Mm.
At least until like the lockdown lifted.
Yeah, but nowadays people just stick to streaming.
Yeah, no one fucking bothers anymore.
And not only that, I think people just don't have money. Because that's another topic I want to get into. Inflation.
Hyperinflation.
Fucking the price of everything has gone way up lately. And it just kind of keeps on going up. But the thing that gets me is that prices have gone up so bad that places like Target and like other like grocers and retailers have actually started lowering prices because now they're losing money because people just aren't buying food.
Yeah, like I know for a fact that like at our local Walmart, up until very recently, like at least 75% of their entire inventory throughout the whole fucking store was on clearance.
Yeah. Yeah, because no one can afford shit, and stores are starting to actually, kind of wise up to that, because the reason why things have increased in price isn't because of some like government bullshit. It's not Biden's fault. It's not the Fed's fault. It's not anything like that. People like to say like, oh, the stimulus checks were the problem or whatever. It wasn't.
America first pundits when the government actually does something for Americans.
Yeah, I mean, if anything, it might have been the PPP loans that a lot of businesses got.
And they still haven't paid back. They never will.
Because they were forgiven by the government. They don't have to pay it back. It's just all poof, gone.
Yeah.
All that money. Not to the American people, but to companies. But anyway,
so glad I didn't qualify for a stimulus check.
Even
though I'm literally a dependent because I still live at home.
Yeah, well, I got $3,000 from mine.
Hell yeah, dude.
And I blew it all on bullshit and bills.
I would have too, to be honest. I would have too.
But anyway, nostalgic pandemic remembrance aside, which honestly, that's another topic I want to get into for today's Shed Talk, because the pandemic kind of fucking rocked, and I'll tell you why in a minute.
Not because people were dying and getting sick.
Oh no, my dad died during like 2020. Like my dad died of COVID.
Hell, my fiance's dad died from COVID.
Yeah, like it was shitty, but that was. I'll get into it in a second. Going back on inflation, really, honestly, the main reason why prices are up so high is because companies just keep raising the prices because they think they can get away with it.
And they're starting to find out they can't.
Yeah, they're starting to find out that they can't get away with it, actually, because it turns out when you raise your prices too fucking high, people don't buy shit. They just hold it. They hold their money. They save their money. Even if they're gonna fucking starve, they save their fucking money. They, keep that shit. They go to food pantries instead of the grocery store.
This is also the reason why, for a brief period, shoplifting was becoming a problem.
Yeah, and it still kind of is in some places. I know some places decriminalize shoplifting. Out in California, and that became a pretty bad problem, which I think is a little dumb to decriminalize it. But
now, I'll say
if you see a shoplifter, no, you didn't.
Yeah.
If you see someone shoplifting food, no, you didn't. Leave them alone.
I don't necessarily condone shoplifting on its own, but yeah, like if I see someone stealing diapers for their babies, I didn't see shit.
Yeah, I shoplifted once.
Really?
On accident.
What did you do? What did you take?
I stole a webcam because I put it under my jacket and I forgot about it.
Oof.
And when I was out at the bus in front of the store, I won't say what store, but I forgot it was there, and I was just like, well, shit, my bus is here. I gotta leave. Oh, okay. I guess I'll take it.
Sitting on the bus, little kid puked while sitting on the bus.
Yeah, I was freaked out on that ride home. I was like, what if I get caught? What if the police get me? You know, whatever. But yeah, that was the only time I've ever shoplifted. But anyway.
Well, Ivan, you're white. So what would the police really have done in that scenario?
Probably fuck all.
Yeah.
They probably would have just been like, hey, give that back. Okay, you're banned
Yeah.
from the store for a week.
Yeah.
But anyway.
And no, we're not making fun of, like, people of color. We're making fun of police for being idiots and racist dickheads.
But anyway, going back to inflation, it's really just corporate greed. Like, it's that's like a common sense thing. It's corporate greed all the way to the top, all the way to the bottom. It's just corporate greed. There's just companies gouging prices. Like the price of McDonald's has gone up like fucking 200% since like 2007 or some bullshit. Like it's crazy. Like, how can people afford this? And you know, that's another thing. My friend was talking to me about that last night on Xbox. I have a friend named Jordan. He's a big hairy motherfucker. I won't say any personal details about him, but he told me that he has a hobby that he does where he researches people that he knows. He calculates how much money they make, and he compares it to their rent and their expenses, and he tries to wonder how they get by. And we found out that a friend of ours pays like $2,000 a month for rent for like a farmhouse in the middle of nowhere, which is a total, like, he's totally getting fleeced. Like, that's a scam. And he only has like $100-some for himself at the end of the month. And this guy's an electrician. He makes like $18 an hour or $19 an hour. And that's like insanely depressing. Because if I worked full time at my day job, I could have more money left over than he gets after taxes and after rent. Isn't that fucked? And I also get benefits because I'm poor. So like, I get my food paid for, my electricity's paid for. I think the only thing I have to pay is water and internet and my rent. Like, it's crazy how much things kind of suck for the middle class. Because like, once you get out of being impoverished and you kind of join the ranks of the middle class, you go from having a bunch of extra money to no money at all. And it sucks.
Especially if you end up in a higher tax bracket because you ended up shifting class.
Mm-hmm. I mean, theoretically, he should have about $2,000 more per month than he should have because he's getting fleeced by his landlord, which, God, what a parasite. But that's just nuts. My heart goes out to that guy. I used to play football with him. He was a great dude. And he used to be, like, he's one of the best work ethic people that I know. And he's always been like kind of a financial responsibility, a financial literacy type of guy. And seeing him just skirt the razor's edge like this is so depressing.
Especially with a like well-paying job like electrician.
Yeah, and that he does full time, you know, and he has a wife that he supports completely on his own. Like it sucks. That's such an ass way of living. That's why I'm never getting married. And also, that's why I would never pay a landlord a fucking buck above $1.50 for anything. That is crazy. That is absolutely nuts.
But what if you marry someone who has a job?
Well, then that makes it a little better. But anyway, that's the inflation talk, cost of living talk. Now we're on to the COVID talk, the pandemic talk. God, do I miss the fucking pandemic, and I'll tell you why. I had more money then than I have ever had in my life from any job ever. Bless up Bernie Sanders. He got he was the guy that proposed the unemployment checks that would go up from like the pandemic unemployment. I don't know if you got that. Did you?
I didn't, but I think my parents might have.
Right. So I was on pandemic unemployment. I was qualified for $189 a week. Right? That was my...
Those were his NEAT bucks. His government mandated NEAT bucks.
Yeah, and then when Bernie Sanders added the $600 a week bonus on top of that, dude, I was riding fucking high. I was getting $789 per week for months. And that was like somewhere in the ballpark of $2,000 a month. I have never made good money like that since then. If I made that much now, that would be fucking perfect.
Bro would have not one but two sheds to record in.
Yeah, I'd have a double-decker shed. I'd have stairs in here, maybe a hot tub, maybe some blackjack and hookers, But no, real talk though, I wouldn't do any of that lavish shit. But what that amount of money enabled me to do for the first time in my life was to have money to spend on hobbies, on things I wanted to do. It allowed me to have more money than just money to pay bills and the occasional treat if I had like some cents and like some lint left over. I could actually buy stuff. I could actually do hobbies. I could do things with my life.
Yeah, granted, you couldn't really go to that many stores because the pandemic, but hey, Amazon exists for a reason.
Yeah, and I was doing all kinds of shit. It was awesome, dude, and I miss that. I miss that a lot. And the government can just do that. Like there's...
They can, they just choose not to.
Yeah.
Because, we got to give another, like, $2 billion to Ukraine or something. Or not Ukraine, Israel.
Yeah,
Ukraine deserves it, Israel doesn't.
Yeah. Like, we could have a straight-up universal basic income of, like, $2,000 a month. Like the shit that Andrew Yang was proposing. And that would just completely strip away homelessness in this country. It would support so many more people. It would pay more than SSI. It would probably pay more than most people get on disability. It would be such a good fucking thing that people everywhere would need. That people everywhere would want. And we don't have it because...
That's socialism.
That's socialism, I guess.
And also because the suffering's the point.
Yeah, I feel like it is at this point. There's just so many options and so many ideas of like how things could be better that are up in the air.
To quote Professor Farnsworth from Futurama, no, it's cheaper to let you die.
Yeah. We live in kind of a shitty place right now, and I was kind of thinking about that recently.
We live in hell.
Well, I won't say that. I won't say that it's hellish. I mean, my life is pretty comfortable how it is, but at the same time, it could be so much better. There is so much potential for this country and for the world at the moment, and we're just kind of in this weird transitive state. I feel like nobody's really satisfied with anything right now. I feel like everyone's pissed at the government for one reason or another. And when you get down to the root of it, I think like most people, like conservatives, Democrats, everyone included, I think the main root cause of why they're pissed at the government, for the most part, is that we're not getting enough money. Because like a lot of those conservatives, they will get mad at the government. They'll get mad at like big government or whatever because they don't get enough in Social Security. I mean, I saw a thing recently where it was Channel 5 with Andrew Callahan. He was at the border, what was it, like a border rally?
Yeah, that was down in like Texas.
Yeah, and he interviewed these two old ladies, and he was asking them like, why are they Trump supporters? And they were like complaining about how they don't make enough to live because they only get like $800 in like SSI or like retirement or something, and they pay like $700 to rent. So like these people are living on a razor's edge, suckling the government teat, and because that's all they can do because they're old, they're retired, they're disabled, they can't do anything else. So they go to these rallies to express their anger, and ultimately I think that's what a lot of Democrats do as well. I mean, we're all angry because we don't have free healthcare or free college or a universal basic income. Republicans are mad, and they kind of get their anger redirected towards other bullshit like immigration or culture war crap, like being
or
angry,
DEI,
like DEI, which I think is just a new word for hating black people.
Well, yeah, whenever you see someone like refer to a black person as quote as like a DEI hire, they mean the N-word. They literally just mean the N-word.
They just don't like them because they're black. That's
exactly.
Yeah. So,
black people are lazy, but they're also taking all the jobs because they're DEI hires or something.
Yeah, it's complete bullshit. But like conservatives, like they're mad about the same shit that we're mad about for the most part. They just get it redirected. Like when the actual material problem in their lives is money. The material problem in most of our lives is money. There's not enough money. Things are too expensive. We're fucking suffering. Conservatives kind of just get turned around and kind of spun around by these like pundits and these just people, these talking heads, into just shitting themselves about something else. I mean, my friend Jordan, he told me about how one of his relatives watches like YouTube like it's the news, and he follows this guy who's like a survivalist channel, and like every week all this dude talks about is just there's a war, like there's a world war coming, there's a war coming, there's a war coming, you know, it's the end days, blah blah blah, you gotta prepare. I think people like that, those like survival YouTubers that like just exist to scare old people into giving them money.
It's very much a grift, and it shows.
I think they should be shot, respectfully. I think they should be shot. I think they should be lined up against a brick wall and just...
Okay, you might want to cut this part out, because this might actually get you, like, TOS violated.
Oh, I don't give a shit. I mean, okay, shot with an airsoft gun in Roblox, whatever, we'll just say that. But regardless, I think these people are scum, and I think they should respectfully delete themselves from the universe, because they are just, they exist to shorten the lifespans of old people for money. And
they're trying to scare, like, seniors into having heart attacks.
Yeah, or to buy their fucking, like, what, like buckets of mac and cheese that they can store in their basement or some shit.
Or try to get them to invest in gold.
Yeah, that's another thing. The fucking gold grift. How, like, everything nowadays is just, like, buy gold. You see that on, like, the Right Side Broadcasting Network, which is a right-wing, pro-Trump, like, news network.
Oh, yeah, you see that on, like, Newsmax and Fox News and shit, too.
Yeah, just, they're all trying to, like, huck gold at people to spend money on gold. And it's like, what are you, a fucking dragon? You're 70, and you get a retirement check every week. Yeah. What are you buying gold for?
Yeah, these fucking Blackbeard having asses over here.
Yeah, it makes no sense. Like, why are you buying and storing gold? It's like a weird speculation thing, I think, where they think it's going to go up in price. Yeah. But it's like, brother, you're already retired.
You're going to die in like 5 minutes.
Yeah, you're going to die in 5 minutes. You should probably spend your money on something better. Like, I don't know. Spend your money on a lawyer so your fucking house goes to your children instead of a bank.
Or even better, like, maybe, like, I don't know, buy stuff for your grandkids.
Yeah, I don't know, like, maybe take care of your grandkids, you know, stop
hoarding wealth, you fuck.
Stop hoarding wealth, stop spending money on dumb shit. I think that's what a lot of older people do, is they just spend money on dumb shit because they get conned into it, because there's so many fucking con artists. I mean, I used to work at a telemarketing agency, right? And I used to work sales, I used to work in all kinds of things. And literally half of the jobs in this country that are sales or like telemarketing or anything like that, I feel like are just geared towards scamming old people.
Oh, they are. They absolutely are.
It's just making old people think they need to spend thousands of dollars on some bullshit. Yeah. Like, I worked for a lawn care company, and I'd have to sit there on the phone and convince old people to buy lawn care and, like, lawn seeding and to make your lawn look good. Who gives a fuck? You know, like, just mow it and it'll be fine. It's grass.
If you can't mow it yourself, get, like, I don't know, someone in the neighborhood or...
Yeah, like, it's not that big of a deal. And then I used to work for a company that did, like, political campaigns and, like, fundraisers. Dude, those fundraisers are so fucking evil. They're all... Okay, if you ever get a phone call from a person claiming to be a nonprofit or something...
They're a for-profit.
Well, no. Hang on. If you get a call from anybody who claims to be a nonprofit, ask them what kind of nonprofit they are. If they're a 501c3, I think, is a 501c3, then they're legit. If they're a 527 nonprofit, they are absolutely just a money funneling scheme for old people to lose their money to nothing. Because I did research on this when I was working at this company. Like, all the fundraisers we did, like one of them was called, like, the Federal fucking Fraternity of Police. And then there's, like, the Veterans Assistance Association or some shit. Just a bunch of these, like, groups that sound made up as fuck. And all they do is they just send mail out to these old people after they donate. And all of them are 527 nonprofits, so they don't have to show their funds. They don't have to disclose their funding. And all of them... Every single one that we worked for that contracted us out to do their fundraising was based out of the same office, the same floor in Alexandria, Virginia. Same guy owns them. Same guy who owns them owned the company that we were in, the for-profit company that was contracting these calls, like these fundraisers. It's just all dark money bullshit. If you ever catch your older folks donating to some cause or donating to something that's not a 501c3 nonprofit, like fucking UNICEF or something, tell them to cut it the fuck out, because it's an absolute scam. It will literally benefit nothing. All it does is it just enriches probably the same dude in Alexandria, Virginia. That's all it does.
Tell them to save their money, and then they'll just turn around and invest it in gold.
Well,
that's another thing. Like,
what can you do?
The whole like gold thing is still, it's fucking nuts, because like, okay, first of all, if you decide to cash out with your gold, good fucking luck finding a buyer who's like not going to lowball you.
Oh yeah, I mean that's the thing with commodities. You know, they will absolutely lowball you. You're not going to get what you think is valued of your gold, because they have to sell it for a profit too. That kind of goes with everything. Whenever anybody tries to sell anything, and they're like, oh, I know what I got. I know how much it's worth. Okay, but the person you're selling it to has to make a profit, so you're going to have to lowball it a little bit, or else you're not going to sell it.
And also, like, fuck, I was going to make a point about, like, imagine trying to pay for, like, Wendy's with, like, fucking doubloons or something.
Yeah, I mean, there's some weirdos that think that, like, the only real currency is, like, gold or silver or whatever.
It's like, oh yeah, paper money only has value because they said it does. Bitch, gold only has value because it's a shiny rock that we said has value.
Yeah. Which, by the way, I saw this video recently about this, like, libertarian guy. He was, like, a libertarian furry. And the thing that really got me about that was not any of the, like, the weird pedophilic shit that he does, because, you know, libertarians, am I right? But it was the fact that he, like, got a job and then he asked to be paid in sunflower seeds. Because he thought that if he had, like, a commodity, he could, like, barter.
Is this bro like a bird or something? Like, he's like fucking Mordecai from Regular Show or something.
Yeah. Oh god, it's fucking weird, man. But I think that's a good point to end this episode of Shed Talk, the inaugural first episode.
We've been yapping for, I think, almost an hour now, maybe even over an hour, because I don't know when we started.
I don't know when either, because my watch was charging, so I don't have my watch on me. But anyway, thank you guys for watching the first episode of Shed Talk. My name is Mr. Meatball YT, also known as Meatball, aka Ivan.
This was Lem/Tucker. Good talking to you fucks.
Helping me out. He's probably not going to be in every episode, just so you know. But yeah, I have a Patreon. If you want to donate something, I probably will put in a PayPal link. If you want to donate something, maybe upgrade the shed a little bit. I don't know.
Fix that hole I'm looking straight at.
Yeah, there's a hole in the roof, like right there. Let me actually point the camera to it.
I don't know if the mic picked that up. I was just popping my knuckles.
Yeah, check that out. That's just straight up a hole in the roof.
That's fucking nasty.
Yeah, it's pretty bad. So anyway, I have a Patreon. And if you guys want to donate, then cool. If not, and if you want to, put your money towards something else, you could also go to the Zoomer Tombstone podcast. I'm half of that. You can just go to zoomertombstone.com. It'll show you all the links to it.
You might want to tell them what Zoomer Tombstone is first.
Oh, yeah.
In case people don't know.
Okay, well, duh. But Zoomer Tombstone is a podcast that me, Synthcool, and Mads does. Mads is a friend of ours. Basically, we just talk about culture, kind of current events, politics, movies mostly. We try to review movies, but it usually gets derailed pretty fast.
And we recently started discussing episodes of TV shows, such as the 1980s classic Elf.
And I gotta say, man, I really want to take Alf and smear his brains on the pavement. I don't like how he looks, but you can hear that and more on the Zoomer Tombstone podcast.
And yours truly may or may not even guest star in a few episodes.
Yeah, so...
I'm everyone's least favorite guest.
Yeah, so you can either go there, or you can go to my Patreon that I'll link below. Thank you for watching, and thank you for watching... Yeah, Shed Talk.
Bye.